Hey, what's up, guys? It's Phil again. Hope you guys are enjoying training so far. So today I want to talk to you a little bit about proximate leadership, and I'll kind of get to what that means here in a little bit. But I just want to ask the question of how many of you said to yourself that you want to change the world? How many of you have kind of come into something and said, I'm going to change this and make this perfect? I know I have done that before. I know I've came into something and wanted to change it completely and make sure everything and everybody involved went according to the plan that I had. So when I talk about proximate leadership, proximate is closely related to the word approximate, which means close to or near to. And sometimes we think about leadership as something that we need to change everything, and it has to go perfect. It has to go according to our plan. It has to be perfect to what we want it to be. And sometimes that's not the case. Sometimes in leadership, there are going to be times where we don't meet these lofty goals that we set for ourselves. And sometimes as Christians, we look at leadership as or taking a leadership role into something as being, we need to restore it to the way that God intended it to be. When because of the fall, we're actually not going to be able to do that. Our efforts, our combined efforts for effective change will most likely not work out perfectly. You know what? That's okay. That's okay for it not to work out perfectly, but we're still attempting to make something greater. So what you may be asking, well, you still haven't really answered what proximate leadership is, and proximate leadership is basically making peace with the proximate, making peace with the fact that we are not going to be able to make something perfect. We just physically as humans are not possible of doing that. Nobody in this world is perfect, even if they say they are. Even if your RD sometimes says, well, I'm perfect, don't believe them. But yeah, making peace with the proximate, making peace with the fact that we are never going to be able to make something perfect. Now, you might be saying, well, if we can't do that, then what's worth trying? But to be honest with you, making realistic expectations for ourselves and realistic goals that are still something worth striving for is one of the best ways of leadership that you guys can go about what you do as RAs, and just in your life as well. So coming into this next year, you're probably thinking like, I want to do so much with every one of my residents. I want to be there. I want to make sure that every resident gets to know everybody. When in all reality, there's going to be a few residents that are going to really cause some problems for you guys. There's going to be some residents who don't want to be involved, who just could care less what you're doing. And you know what? That's okay as well. I'm not saying to ignore those people, but at the same time, if you are wasting your energy on people that do not want to be invested in, then it becomes super difficult for you to invest in those that want to be invested in. So when we talk about proximate leadership, Stephen Garber kind of puts it this way. He was the author of Fabric of Faithfulness, and he says, I'm sure of this. The vision of proximate tethers us to the world that we really live in. Wanting otherwise, as we might, there is no other world in which we can be at home. So making peace with the proximate means that we accept the world as it is and hold realistic expectations. And you might be asking, well, how do we do this? How do we become proximate leaders? How do we make sure we are setting realistic expectations, but not also setting them too low when we can really get to here? I'm just going to give you some practical ways to do that, and one is to avoid cynicism. Being an ideation is one of my strengths, actually my number one strength, and coming up with amazing or big ideas, not always amazing, but big ideas that I want to accomplish. And that's perfectly fine, but when it becomes an issue is whenever I take those ideas and make them expectations. So taking the ideas I have and expecting it to turn out exactly how I want it to be. In all honesty, every idea that I've had in the past, there's always been something different about it by the time it comes to fruition. So the next thing too is also to avoid naive optimism. So we're at two different ends of the spectrum. Avoiding cynicism, but avoiding naive optimism. And being naively optimistic is to think everything will go perfectly. And like I said, we're imperfect human beings, so there's going to be something that doesn't go perfectly. There will always be something that doesn't go according to plan. And I'm sure you guys have experienced this for the returning RAs, and I'm sure the new RAs, you guys have experienced this in your life in some way, where something that you have planned has not gone completely according to plan, and you've had to adapt to do that. And that's okay, because you didn't set this expectation that no matter what, it has to go this way. If you do that, you're setting yourself up for failure every time. One of my professors in college puts it this way. He's the author of Storied Leadership, and he puts it this way: to be a proximate leader is to shape the people's perspective with the understanding that God's grace is in every situation, not with naivety, but with the knowledge that the created order is always, no matter how bleak, mixed with kernels of goodness. And I just want to encourage you guys to go in your role as an RA with this attitude of understanding that God is in control, and no matter how bleak a situation is, no matter how bleak an issue is, there's always kernels of goodness that will come from that.